Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Jay. I wanted to give my thoughts on the John Cena promo that he cut this Monday night on Raw in Brussels, Belgium. Well, you all been waiting for it since the heel turn, at Elimination Chamber. We're like, oh, well, usually in wrestling, when a character turns heel, quote unquote, they come out the next night on Raw and they give an explanation as to why they did what they did. But Cena didn't. We waited 2 weeks, past the Raw at Madison Square Garden. Other characters talked about how they felt about him. CM Punk, others, Randy Orton, right? But he didn't come out and speak about how he felt, why he did what he did. So, and we're all speculating. We're all like, well, is it gonna be? He gonna come out with a new outfit? What gonna be a new look? What's gonna happen? So finally, in front of a packed crowd in Brussels, Belgium, at 3 something in the afternoon, it aired on Netflix. And this crowd in Europe was better than any American crowd I've seen in a very long time. They were chanting everything. And he comes out with the exact same theme song, with a shirt, with a brown shirt, with the Belgian flag on it. And these motherfuckers in Belgium, man, they were serving up him. They were serving him more than just chocolate and waffles. Let me tell you that much. They were like, John Cena sucks. John Cena sucks. And as usual, the crowd was split between the John Cena sucks people and the John Cena let's go Cena people. So he comes out and he basically says that a man is secure in his personality, does not have to prove himself to anyone. And then he talks about for the last 25 years, I have been in an abusive relationship with the WWE universe. I gave my blood, my sweat, my tears to the WWE universe only to be treated like complete garbage. That when I first came to the WWE, you let me know that I was not wanted, that you didn't like me. But then I won, and I kept winning. And all you could do was sit on your fat asses and watch me be great. And you still, everything I did wasn't enough. You still treated me like garbage. You still cheered other people over me. You didn't name names, but think of CM Punk, think of Randy Orton, think of um, even some of the heels he worked with, like Edge and Wade Barrett. People would cheer these people. Triple H at WrestleMania 22, cheering those people over John Cena. So finally, he says, I come out here. He didn't address why he did what he did. He didn't address why he turned on Cody Rhodes at Elimination Chamber. But what he did say was, all you do is take from me. All you do is I come out here and you expect new music. Well, no, this is the music you're gonna get because it's my voice, it's my song, and you're gonna like it. You guys, what do we get? What do we get? What do we get? You get nothing because you deserve nothing. You say, am I gonna get new gear? I'm going to come out wearing new attire. Well, you're not going to get new gear from me because you dress like me. I don't dress like you people. Then he points to this kid in the crowd and he goes, you Cena sucks fans, you're just as bad. You're just as bad as the Let's Go Cena fans are just as bad as the Cena sucks fans. Because you don't support me. You use me. You use me until I can't be used anymore. Even you, this kid in the crowd, and points to the kid. Even you, to the kid, are guilty of it. Because I come out here, I produce merch. And what do I get for it? Nothing. I get absolutely nothing for all the hard work that I've put in for 25 years here in the WWE. And all the while, the crowd is on their feet, chanting, "Fuck you, Cena! Fuck you, Cena! Cena sold out! Cena sold out! Cena sold out!" Right? And then Cody Rhodes comes out. And Cody Rhodes, his entrance, spectacular. People are chanting along with the song. People are singing to the song. Cody Rhodes, the WWE champion, is truly over with this Belgian crowd. So John Cena still, just standing there, right? Brooding. So Cody says, the people who did it like that with you, they were 50-50 with you because they knew you could take it. They knew you could handle it, right? And then John Cena says, "Listen, kid." And Cody says, "Enough!" It's not kid. It's WWE champion. And that was my favorite part. Enough! And he goes, if this is the John Cena, if this melancholy, if this crybaby, if this whiner of a Cena is going to be the Cena that I'm going to face at WrestleMania in Las Vegas, I don't want to be associated with this Cena. I want you, Cena, to bring your A game, the game that made you one of the greatest superstars in WWE history. If you can't bring your A game come WrestleMania, I don't want to face you. And that was pretty much the end. But what are my thoughts on this? This promo was really intense because it was real. If you followed the career of John Cena over the years, you know that what he said was true. That the WWE fans took him for granted. He was there doing all the Make-A-Wish foundations. He was there being there for all the kids. He was basically the poster child for Vince McMahon's WWE from 2005 till about 2015 for like 10 years. He says 25 years, but really it was like 10 because after 2015, they started to shift their focus to Roman Reigns as a babyface. Cena was no longer really there like that. He doesn't wrestle at WrestleMania 32. He doesn't wrestle at 33. He doesn't wrestle at in main event matches at 34 or 35 or 36. Well, 36, but that's a special case. 37, really. 38, no. 39, he wrestles Austin Theory. That's an opener. So basically, from 2005 to about 2015, this man was the face of WWE. He did everything for the charities. He lived the moniker of hustle, loyalty, respect. Like he said, you just wear the moniker of hustle, loyalty, respect. Me, I live it. Those are my words. And I felt like this was how he always felt because John Cena was unique among all the other baby faces. He wasn't like Hulk Hogan or uh, the Ultimate Warrior or Stone Cold Steve Austin or Bruno Sammartino. All these other guys had the ball. They were all Vince McMahon's representative for a number of years, right? Say Hogan from 84 to 93, Ultimate Warrior for most of 90, Bruno Sammartino from 63 to about 78, right? They were all the representative of WWE at one point. But unlike them, David says he's still in shock about John Cena being heel. Unlike them, the fans weren't split about those guys. They universally loved Bruno Sammartino and Stone Cold Steve Austin and Hulk Hogan. All the fans loved them, right? They never got booed out of arenas. And when they either retired or left the WWE at some point, we went over them in the WrestleMania series and the impacts they had. When they either retired or left the WWE at some point, fans missed them. But John Cena was different. John Cena was the first babyface that WWE gave us that was universally rejected. Thank you, David. I'm glad to be here. He was the first one that was universally rejected, but not universally, but partially rejected. Half the audience loved him, half the audience hated him. Now, he wasn't the last babyface for that to happen to, because that happened to Roman too. After him, Roman's run from 2015 to 2020, half the fans hated him and half the fans loved him. Matter of fact, the same fans who loved Cena grew up and they hated Roman when Roman was a babyface. So, but unlike Roman, when WWE got wind of the fans booing him, they turned him heel. With Cena, they never turned him heel until now. So finally, Cena is venting his frustration. Like he said, I am not a heel. I am not a babyface. I am a human being. In other words, indicating that we never took his feelings into consideration, ever, as fans. Those that chanted Cena sucks didn't take his feelings into consideration, and those that chanted Cena, let's go Cena, never took his feelings into consideration. Because for those who chanted Cena sucks, he represented, and I was among them. I used to chant Cena sucks. He was a representation for us of the Attitude Era that was cut short. And we talked about it in the WrestleMania review series. Go back to the episode on WrestleMania 19. David was there, where we talked about how we still wanted The Rock. We still wanted Stone Cold Steve Austin. We still wanted the Attitude Era, but because of pressure that was put on Vince McMahon from the parents groups and pressure from the sponsors, we couldn't have that. Because of Stone Cold Steve Austin's injury, we couldn't have that. Because of The Rock's going to Hollywood, we couldn't have that. It was taken away from us. We still wanted the Attitude Era. And then after the Attitude Era, they gave us John Cena, right? And John Cena represented to us PG. He represented the watering down of what we loved as WWE fans, right? And that's why we hated him. That's why we didn't like him. Because it wasn't him himself. He worked hard. He won matches. He did the Make-A-Wish. But it wasn't him. Yeah, David is saying Trish should have turned heel at WrestleMania 20. Yeah, that would have been cool, David. But it wasn't necessarily Cena himself. It was what he represented, what he meant for the change. You know, from the Attitude Era to the Ruthless Aggression Era. And to the kids, To the younger fans that came after the Attitude Era, during the Ruthless Aggression Era, to them he was their Hulk Hogan. You know, he was like Hulk Hogan in a way. He was a Hulk Hogan for the modern era. He was wholesome. He didn't curse. He always played by the rules. He always did the right thing. And Hulk Hogan had a rock and roll essence to him, and John Cena had a hip hop essence to him. Just rock and roll was big in the 80s, so Hogan ran with that. And Hogan was a former good bass guitarist in a rock and roll band. John Cena, in addition to being a wrestler, was also a musician and rapper. Yeah, that was pretty dumb. The fact that Christian and Trish Stratus got together at WrestleMania 20, yeah. We talked about that in the review. Thank you for contributing that, David, in the WrestleMania 20 review. But so John Cena represented two different things to two different generations. This was very similar to Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan, when he went down to WCW, fans hated him because he represented the WWF. It was more of a geographical, territorial thing for Hogan. You know, because he represented everything they hated about wrestling. And it was similar to that with the Attitude Era fans versus John Cena. So now, Cena was able to say, you know what? I'm sick of your bullshit. And one thing he pointed out in his promo, he said, you have made me the butt of a joke, out of an invisible joke, for 15 years. The you can't see me joke. But it was very symbolic. It was very meta, because what does you can't see me mean in his instance? You weren't seeing John Cena for who he was. You were seeing him for who you wanted him to be. Both the Let's Go Cena people and the Cena Sucks people. Both. The Cena Sucks people were projecting their anger onto John Cena, and they were seeing him as a symbol of the corporate direction, that the PG direction, the PG corporate direction that WWE was taking. The Let's Go Cena people were projecting their hopes and their dreams and their wants and desires to be a better person onto John Cena. And how much more can a human being take? He cannot always be pressured to be the paragon of virtue for the Let's Go Cena people, and he cannot be the villain of all villains for the Cena Sucks people. He's a human being. He's not a heel. He's not a baby face. He's a person with feelings and emotions. Damian Castillo says, who's a better heel, John Cena or Roman Reigns or Dave Bautista? Roman Reigns is a better heel. We have yet to see what heel Cena is going to be like. This was one promo, Damian. This wasn't, he hasn't really had a heel run yet. I mean, we know what his heel run was like before he turned babyface in 03, 02 and 03, but we don't know what it'll be like now. As far as Batista, he was a pretty good heel in 2010. Some people liked it, some people didn't. I didn't really care for it, but some of his promos were all right. But Batista was more of a face. We talked about that in the WrestleMania 26 review. Batista was more of a face. Cena, like I said, it remains to be seen. We don't know. It was a good promo, but that could just be one promo. We don't know how he works as a heel either. Because with Hulk Hogan, it took Hulk Hogan a while when he first wrestled as a heel to get into heel mode. If you look at Hulk Hogan, You look at Hulk Hogan's first few matches in 1996 against Ric Flair at Clash of Champions and against the Big Show, aka the Giants, at Road Wild, Hog Wild '96. He was still hawking up. He was still doing the Hulk Hogan thing, wagging the finger, doing the babyface comeback. He was still doing that for the first few matches. It wasn't until Fall Brawl '96 when him and the NWO took on Sting and Luger and the Horsemen that he finally started working like a heel. So we don't know how John Cena will work as a heel. You know, heels cheat, heels run away, heels are vicious, heels are unremorseful, unrepentant. They take shortcuts, they lie, they cheat, all that kind of stuff. Baby faces, you know, they fight from underneath. And was Cena so used to fighting from underneath, being that super Cena, having the odds stacked against him, the deck stacked against him. For example, in SummerSlam 2010 against the Nexus, being that super Cena and having it all stacked against him and coming back, and fighting back. We don't know how he'll do with that. Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't good with that either. He was so used to fighting as a babyface when he turned heel. He was still fighting the same sort of style, and fans still cheered him. So we don't know yet, Damien, about Cena. Roman was great as a heel. Roman is great as a heel. Great at so many title defenses when he was with the Bloodline, and the Bloodline were heels that he came. For example, Drew McIntyre at Clash of the Castle. McIntyre came so close to beating Roman for the championship, and by the skin of his teeth because of interference from the Bloodline, or even WrestleMania 39, because of interference from the Bloodline, Roman would escape it. That's what a good heel does. That's what Ric Flair did all throughout his career. Baby faces would get so close to beating Ric Flair for the championship, and all of a sudden time would run out, or he put his foot on the rope, or the Horseman would interfere, and time's up, and that babyface came this close to defeating the heel champion, but because of his faction and because of the people that backed him up, it wasn't to be. So we don't know how Cena will be. But so out of the three, I say Roman. Kurt Angle should have turned heel in 2001, David says. Yes. Kurt Angle was a great heel. Kurt Angle was a better heel than he was a babyface because, again, Kurt Angle had the type of a personality that he would talk and you would just want to punch his lights out. And you wanted to see the baby faces, whether they be Stone Cold Steve Austin or Triple H or whomever, beat his ass. You know what I mean? They tried to bring him in 1999 as a babyface against Tiger Ali Singh, an anti-American versus pro-American angle because he was in the Olympics. But times had changed. People weren't about that in 1999. So, yeah, they had to turn him heel. If a wrestler is easy to hate, then they're a good heel. If they're easy to some wrestlers are not good at being heels. Stone Cold Steve Austin was not good at being a heel. He was a terrible heel. Because even the heelish things he did, like the what chant that started when he was a heel. What? People took to that and people still liked it. He wasn't a good heel. Sting was never a good heel. Sting, the times in both WCW and TNA, they tried to turn Sting heel. He ended up just going back to babyface right away because he was He was not a good heel. Some wrestlers that they try to make them heels. Randy Orton is not. He's a better. Randy Orton is a better heel than he is a babyface. Ric Flair, unless you're in Charlotte, North Carolina, Ric Flair is a better heel than he is a babyface. Rey Mysterio is a wrestler that you can never turn Rey Mysterio heel, ever. Fans would never dislike Rey Mysterio, ever. Ricky Steamboat, never turn heel because you can't. How can you dislike Ricky Steamboat? Certain wrestlers, you can't turn them babyface. The Honky Tonk Man, you can never turn the Honky Tonk Man to a babyface. He wrestles babyface now on the Indies, but that's because he's a legend. But he could never be. He could never be a babyface. They tried it when they brought him in '87. Doesn't work. The $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. You could never turn the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase to a babyface. Impossible. Doesn't work. You know. But what Cena is doing is like he's like, okay, you want to hate me, you want me to give you something different. I'm not going to give you anything different. I'm going to give you more of the same. Because fans want to change from him, but that's the point. That's going to make him a heel. You're never supposed to give the fans what they want. You give the fans what they want. That's a baby face. That's not a heel. It's like Mick Foley. Mick Foley in ECW in 1995 was one of the most brilliant heels because here Mick Foley has this wild and crazy style of wrestling that he's had since he got into wrestling, right? And of course, in ECW, fans are going to love that because that's what they love in ECW. So what would he do? He would go into wrestling matches and he would put rear chin locks on people. He'd put arm bars on people. He'd put headlocks on people, standing there with a headlock for like 5 or 10 minutes just to piss people off. And he became the anti-hardcore wrestler. So Cena coming out in his old gear and with his same music, that made sense. Because, like the song says, I spent 20 plus years seeking knowledge of self. Now Mark Breck is doing life for self. So Cena spent 20 plus years doing what you wanted him to do. Now he's doing it for himself. That makes perfect sense to me. So I'm really looking forward to this match of Cody Rhodes versus John Cena at WrestleMania. Now, yeah, Damien, Rey Mysterio has never been a heel. His whole career, they started the same year. Actually, they did, yeah, 2002. But well, Rey Mysterio was in WCW before he was in the WWE. So, but I get what you mean. In WWE, you mean. And Rey wasn't even a heel in WCW ever. Rey has never been a heel in his life. He can't. You can't hate Rey Mysterio. You just like picture Rey Mysterio going out there and saying that he hates people. Nobody would buy it. People were like, "Okay, Rey, like we know you're just acting." You know what I mean? Like you can't do it. He was associated in 1998 with the LWO that were heels, but that was because he was forced to join them. After he lost the match to um, one of their members, I believe it was either Juventud or Eddie Guerrero. Eddie, Eddie Guerrero was the only wrestler that, whether he was heel or babyface, he didn't have to do anything different. He did the exact same thing being a heel as he did being a babyface. He cheated as a babyface. He did his underhanded tactics as a babyface, and people loved him for it. That's what made Eddie Guerrero one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, because he could do both without ever changing his style. But Rey Mysterio, he could never be a heel. Just him cutting a heel promo, nobody would take him serious. Damien, I mean not Damien. Yeah, you're Damien. Sorry. Dominic is a good heel. Dominic is a great heel. I don't ever see him turning babyface. Maybe one day. You know what I mean? But he's too good of a heel. When he was a babyface and him and his dad were teaming together, he sucked. Yeah. Dominic is a scaredy cat. Dominic cheats. Damien says John Cena was a heel twice. Rey Mysterio was never a heel, ever. Not even in WCW, not in ECW. Rey Mysterio was never a heel anywhere he was. I don't know about Mexico. Maybe he was in Mexico, but I can't see it. But yes, John Cena was a heel when he first came out. Yeah, like most wrestlers. Sting was a heel when he first came out in UWF. Hulk Hogan was a heel from 79 to 80 before he turned heel in 96. Goldberg was a heel at first. Yes, John Cena's, because the original character for John Cena was this lame ass white boy trying to rap, trying to be down with hip hop. Basically, excuse the phrase, a wigger character. And it pissed people off because he came off as inauthentic. You know what I mean? Basically like a Malibu's Most Wanted motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like Jamie Kennedy from Malibu's Most Wanted. So of course that's gonna be a heel. You know what I mean? Because this white boy thinks he's a rapper. You know what I mean? When he first came out. But what happened was some of his raps were good. You know what I mean? So the raps were good. They had good punchlines, and they got over with the crowd. Especially like when he would have a curse in the rap songs, and then he would let the crowd say the curse, right? So it's like, okay, he was originally this corny Vanilla Ice Eminem wannabe character, right? And we hated him for it. But now the raps are kind of good. He's rapping against these other wrestlers, and he's saying, this is he's getting at them, dissing them, and it's kind of funny. So that turned him babyface. But then when he stopped doing that, and he became like after the Marine came out in 2005, it's like, okay, now he's just Hulk Hogan in hip hop clothes. You know, I think with Rey Mysterio, one of the things that makes it hard for him to turn heel is that he's so small that the other bigger opponents that he faces in WWE, you'll always be perceived as an underdog, and people always root for the underdog no matter what. But yeah, John Cena, he was a good heel at first. People thought maybe the theme song would be the Doctor Thug. Basic Thugonomics. His whole theme song. This is a basic thugonomics word life. This is basic thugonomics. People thought, okay, maybe that'd be his theme, but it wasn't. What I would do is if I was John Cena, I would have gave up the whole hip hop clothes and just come out in a suit and be the way that he is when he does interviews for the Peacemaker and when he does interviews for any movie that he's in. Uh, he does it in a suit, even if he's like in hot ass weather, like on the Jimmy Kimmel show or the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. He'll do it in a suit. I would have started wearing a suit. you know, him and The Rock, two corporate guys, two Hollywood sellouts. Used to be great WWE wrestlers, and now they're sellouts. That's what I would have done. But we gotta see how this plays out, guys. We have a couple more weeks still. They face each other. It's one of the longer builds for WrestleMania, so they're doing a lot. They probably knew they were going to do this. I don't know if they knew they were going to do this, though, because according to Dave Meltzer, and I take what Dave Meltzer says with a grain of salt, according to him, The Rock wanted Cody Rhodes to sell out at WrestleMania. Elimination Chamber. And him going to WrestleMania as the heel and John Cena still be the babyface. But Triple H was against it. Yeah, Rey Mysterio. Listen, Rey Mysterio is the man. He represents for Latinos all over. Listen, when he and Ray and Eddie Guerrero and were on top in that era of SmackDown, they did samplings for ethnic demographics. And they found out that in Latino homes, SmackDown was more popular than any TV show in English. because of those guys, because of Rey Mysterio and because of Eddie Guerrero. They were heroes to Latinos who were WWE fans. Those two, you know what I mean? Because they represented, you know, us, you know, proudly. So, and that's part of the reason why they put the belt on Eddie Guerrero and then later Rey Mysterio. Because, like Bruce Pritchard said, Eddie Guerrero was the Mexican Shawn Michaels. Pillars in the Latino community, Eddie and Ray. And I'm glad that WWE never took off Ray's mask. One of the biggest mistakes that WCW made in 1999 was taking off Ray's mask. Like, the mask adds to his character. And it's a big thing in the Lucha Libre world to wear the mask. Take it off is a big. Yeah. But yeah. And Ray's still going. He's still going, you know, as a legend. Damien Castillo says he thinks that uh, The Rock turned John Cena because WWE turned his cousin heel. Possible. But we haven't heard Roman's. We haven't heard Roman's opinion on this. Roman hasn't been on the show. You know what I mean? We haven't heard his opinion on John Cena's heel turn. Him and Cena have had, you know, history in the past. They wrestled each other in 2016. They wrestled each other again in 2021. At SummerSlam. So Roman hasn't spoken on this. CM Punk spoke on it. Randy Orton. People. One person I wish was alive, but he ain't, is Bray Wyatt. I wish that Bray Wyatt were alive because it will be interesting to hear his take on Cena as a heel, because he predicted, kayfabe wise, he predicted years ago that John Cena was the heel, that he was the heel all along. You know, the same thing that Bray Wyatt's been saying basically turned out to be true about John Cena. But unfortunately, you know, due to his untimely passing in 2023, we don't get that. But it would have been interesting. It would have been interesting as hell to see that. You know, because they had such a history, Bray Wyatt and Cena. Who can forget 2014? Cena. This was before the Fiend. 2015, Cena standing in the ring. The lights go out, and all the kids are singing. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the itty bitty babies. You got the whole C Nation. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Roman has to say on this. I mean, Roman's been back. He was mostly involved with the CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk and Seth Rollins triple threat match that they got set for Mania. But what else? What about the John Cena turn? One of the things they did when they turned Hulk Hogan heel in '96, which I think they should have did now. Like, this is why you need a guy like Mean Gene Okerlund, right? Because when they turned Hulk Hogan heel, the next Nitro, you had all the people that had something to do with Hulk Hogan over the years, right? That were like his rivals or his friends, and they like the Dungeon of Doom, Randy Savage, and Sting, Luger. You know what I mean? Like, you had them talking about, oh, they can't believe that Hogan did this. Four Horsemen said, you know, they were, they always took shortcuts, but they admired Hogan because Hogan was a stand-up guy. And how could he do this to the kids? They should have done like that at that Raw with Cena. They did it a little bit with CM Punk, which was a great promo. This bullshit, with against The Rock. You know what I mean? But they should have did it with other superstars, other people that were enemies of Cena over the past, because Cena had a lot of rivals, not just Randy Orton and CM Punk. He wrestled Roman Reigns. He wrestled. They could have had Batista come in through satellite. They could have had Kurt Angle come in through satellite. Kurt Angle was the first guy that John Cena ever wrestled back in 2002. You know what I mean? So maybe they'll do that over the next couple of weeks. We don't know. We got to see. But it's shaping up to be right. Damien's exactly right. I would love to hear that too. Give his opinion on Cena turning heel. Dave Batista. Absolutely. That's what they should have did. I think that's what Vince would have did. If Vince was in charge, Vince would have had, like, remember the Vince McMahon appreciation night on Raw? Or where all the people that were associated with Vince McMahon, enemies of Vince McMahon, came out and talked about him. That would have been cool if they did that the night after Cena turned. Have everybody that's around associated with Cena, Batista, all of them, give their opinions on Cena, in between matches. What other news? Apparently, we have another triple threat. We have the women's triple threat: Rhea Ripley, Bianca, and Io. I don't know how I feel about this. Rhea Ripley just, they're doing the contract signing between Io and Bianca, and Rhea just comes in and signs the contract just like Shawn Michaels did in 2004. I just wanted Bianca and Io. Honestly, they could have had Rhea do something else. I think 2 triple threat matches on one WrestleMania is overkill. You're doing triple threat with the men. Why do triple threat with the women too? But I guess they had to put Rhea in there somehow. Honestly, Rhea's not as over as she was last year. Like, after the Liv Morgan feud, she really has nothing left in her. So the best thing to do would have been to put put Io and Bianca on that main stage. In my opinion. That's all. Peace, guys. Thank you, Damien, for contributing. Thank you, David, for contributing. I hope to see you again, David. Join the live stream. Join this channel, man. First time viewer, first time commenter. Peace. You had pretty good opinions, my guy. Well,
Pretty good.